Mhm. All right, good afternoon and welcome to the How Can I? Welcome to the Skill Up Show this afternoon. Oh no, sorry. Okay, I think we're live. All right, good afternoon and welcome to the Skill Up Show. It is Monday afternoon and it is 1 p.m. That time where we come to this show to talk about parenting your preteens. The Skill Up Show is our weekly webinar that we run every week. And it is summer holiday. How is it at your end? Are your kids on summer holiday yet? So my children started the holiday sometime last week or at the end of the week before last. And so for us, it is summer already. And so summer is buzzing around here. So how is it and what is it for you at your end? Are your children on holiday yet? Are your children on summer holiday yet? And what are you doing for summer? Welcome to the Skill Up Show. Children are made readers on the laps of their parents. Children will learn to read. Children will be readers because they have parents who are interested in books, because they have parents who are ready to introduce and to nurture this skill in their children. Children see the world through our eyes as parents. So your children would see the world through your eyes as a parent. What our children get to know about the world, they usually learn from us. All right. So, what are you presenting to your child as the world? What are your children seeing just because you are showing them that as what the world is? Our children's perception of the world is going to be first how we made them see the world. Welcome to the show. And it is that time of the day. If you are here and you do not have your friends, your family, and your loved ones here right now, and these people are people who have young children, people who have preteens, and should be here, why don't you just go ahead and invite them to come and be a part of the show? All right? Do you have friends who are parents of preteens and parents of young children? Why don't you go ahead and invite them to be a part of the show? Because, as I always like to say, if you are raising your child and being intentional and walking this journey on your own, and you don't have the people who are closest to you, the people who make up your support system, the people who make up your friends, loved ones, and family, if they are not walking this journey as well as you are, what you're doing is you're making things difficult for you. You're making things tough for you and for your child. Because these people happen to be the same people in the life of your children, whether it's their friends and the parents of their friends, or it's your friends, your family members, and your loved ones. At one point or the other, your children will have to depend on these people. You would have to depend on these people to support you and to support your children. If these people do not share the same or similar values as you, if they do not share the same ideology when it comes to parenting, if they are not intentional in their parenting, then your children are going to be listening to too many different voices. Your children are going to be listening to too many different approaches, mindsets, and of course, the strategies will definitely be different. And so this ends up confusing your children. So the best way or the best thing you want to do as a parent who is intentional and is walking this journey, right, to support their children effectively is to make sure that other people around you are also learning and becoming better, right, and understanding, right, what they need to know about parenting so that everybody is in sync. Everybody is speaking one language. All right, so today we're going to be talking about introducing your children to reading, getting your children to read for leisure, getting children to understand the power of reading, the power of stories, right? And of course, cultivating the culture of reading, making reading a lifestyle. Now, if you don't do this as a parent, you don't do this for your children, what will happen is your children will grow without this skill. And when your children grow without this skill, later in life, they begin to struggle with a lot of, they begin to struggle with many aspects of their lives. One of the first one that shows up is them struggling with their academics. Many times when you see parents of teenagers, or the parents of preteens rather, when you see parents of preteens first, before they even become teenagers, when you see parents of preteens and you see them, worried and jumping around, trying to get, extra support here, extra support there, most times it's because somehow, somewhere in the foundation, certain things were missed. The child did not cultivate certain habits that will help the child navigate on their own as learners. So when this happened, you realize because the child doesn't have those prerequisite skills, the child did not learn the skills that will help for them to study, right? Then it becomes difficult for the child to engage and to study on their own. Now you begin to struggle and you begin to look for help and get all kinds of people. So rather than have teachers, support the child in school, guide them in their practices, and work with the child while the child leads their own learning to a huge extent, okay, you have people who are constantly instructing the children. Now, as if what goes on in school, all of the instructions, that goes on in school is not enough. When they finish, they come home and then you have more people instructing them. So what we do is, because the foundation is not right, our children cannot become independent learners. And so they end up depending on one teacher after the next teacher, because somehow we did not create or prepare the right foundation. And so our children continue to need. This is one of the major reasons. Other reasons are, our children they're not interested in learning per se. We're talking about real learning and having knowledge and deep knowledge of the things around them. Usually you see this when children were not introduced to learning early. And the easiest way to introduce children to learning early is to introduce them to books and reading as early as possible. So when that happens, you see that our children are not interested in learning as much as they are interested in passive entertainment and things that they have to, things that they do without having to use a lot of, critical thinking, problem solving, and all of that. That's what it takes to be glued to a TV. There's hardly any critical thinking that is going on there. There's hardly any problem solving. You just sit down passively and you are entertained. So sometimes, because of these things that we do, we make our children mentally lazy. All right. So these are some of the negatives. These are some of the ills of not introducing children to reading and learning and enjoying books as early as possible. All right. So our children, your child will see the world through your eyes. What you express and what you show them that the world is, or the world should be, is going to be what your child will be programmed to see the world as. So if from home, as early as possible, you're able to introduce your children to a world of books, then your children know that reading books is a thing. If you introduce your children to varying experiences through books, through stories, then your children will learn that there is something like this. But if you're a parent that has not bothered to introduce all of this to your child, you're a parent who doesn't bother with these things, then your children will not know this. I started by saying that children are made readers on the laps of their parents. This is a quote by Emily Buchwald. All right. And think about it. It is literally so true. Okay. If you can introduce your children to books, if you can introduce your children to understanding character and experiencing characters as early as possible, through reading them simple books and reading them storybooks and telling them stories. Simple things like bedtime stories, having bedtime story sessions with your children, having story sessions during the day, using rich language while you tell them stories. All of these things are so powerful, yet we take them for granted, or we do not even know the power in doing these simple practices. Simple things that will take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and 15 minutes. Yet we'll be leaving your child with such lifelong skill that your child will need now and for the rest of their lives. Now, if you are not listening to what we are talking about, if you are not hearing us, even if you're listening, if you're not hearing us and you are not putting into practice the things that we are saying here, then your children will still get to suffer all of these things just because you didn't give them the advantage of a parent who opened up themselves to learn and to practice, but I mean, to put into practice the things that can be beneficial to their child. All right. Now we know this, and we have done this for so long that I can tell you for free. Right? I know this, and I've done this for too long that I can tell you for free that exposing your children, introducing your children to books, helping your children encounter books early is one of the best legacy that you can give to your children. Now, having your children stay on these habits at a point where they don't have it, or they are struggling with it, or they don't even know it yet, having them be in that space where they are practicing this consistently for as many as 30 days is you practicing consistency, is you having the children do this over and over again. Repetition, they say, is the mother of learning. All right. So when you have your children in that space doing this over and over again, it becomes something that your children look forward to, especially for your little children. They begin to look forward to this. You're able to put a routine to it. You're able to put some structure around it. And so what you realize is your toddler, your infant, yes, your baby will be looking forward to this. What you do is you create a sense of motivation. You create anticipation, isn't it? You create anticipation in the child when you do this, all right? So the child is anticipating the next day where you will have this story time. Now, as you're doing this, there's a craving inside. As you are doing this, the child is getting a sense of satisfaction. As you're doing this, the pleasure hormones, right? So the hormones that give your child the happy feeling is released, in relation to this exercise or in relation to this activity. So you see how it is that your child begins to build an affiliation or a love for learning or for reading because you have introduced reading in a way that the child is excited about it. It is the same excitement and anticipation that your child has when your child sees a phone. For a parent who has introduced a phone to their child early, have you seen those videos on YouTube or wherever of children who have been introduced to the use of gadgets like phone, their mother's phone in many cases, okay, for mothers who have used their phone or who use their phones as pacifiers. The child is upset, or the child is hungry, or the child is crying for something. Rather than look for what it is that the child wants, you want to distract the child, and then you hand the child your phone. This is common practice, isn't it? So you hand the child your phone, and so the child goes quiet as soon as they see the phone. Now, that phone wasn't really the child's problem in many cases, or at least at the beginning. The phone is not usually the child's problem or the child's, problem at that time. The child is probably hungry, or the child is wet, or something else is wrong with the child. But what you do is you introduce the phone as a pacifier. And so because there is a motivation, or there is something that brings a sense of pleasure, there's something that brings a sense of satisfaction on that phone to your child, the child gets it and the child forgets about every other thing because, hey, that hormone is released. That pleasure, that good hormone that makes the child feel happy, feel good. When the child has that thing, is released. And so automatically, the child forgets about their needs, forgets about their sorrow at that time. And of course, they enjoy the pleasure of having this in their hands. Now, do you know you can actually create the same feeling with a book? You can actually create the same feeling with stories and all of that if you know what to do and how to do this. All right. So I remember how when we introduced our son to books, our children are introduced to books as early as possible. Okay. even before they are born, I have books ready for them. So our first, I got his first set of books when he was only 6 months. So it simply means that by the time our daughter was coming, there were already books for her age waiting for her. All right. And I started reading to him as early as that. I read somewhere that children can hear, right, even while they're in the room at a particular at a certain stage, the fetus can actually hear you. And so I ran with that and I would just read. I mean, there was nothing to lose. But of course, I couldn't wait for the baby to come. So that reading was one of those exciting things that I couldn't wait for my baby to come for. Do you get? All right. So the way you couldn't wait to have the children, to just do all that mommy thing, as a young married woman. So it was the same way. So reading was one of those things that I was anticipating. All right. So just getting to read him bedtime stories and sing lullabies and then all of that, and have all that lovely sound around to get the child to relax and go to sleep. So for me, this was a big deal, right? So this is how we started with reading, and our son. This is how we started and all that. So we practically introduced books into his space and we programmed the children to read books. So there was a programming, all right, from the very beginning. All right. Now, as a result of that programming, the environment or the stage was already prepared for them to read books. So our son wouldn't pick, after that, as he grew older, I read aloud every day. Like we read bedtime stories to our children every day, except something came up. For instance, except something came up. If nothing came up, we are present, we're around, then the children would get bedtime stories every day. As a matter of fact, my daughter is 9 years old. She's 9 years old now, and she would still pick a storybook on her way to bed and ask you to read her a bedtime story. She would still do that. So most times when you see her get up from where she's sitting and she goes to the library, that is a sign for you that, okay, she's tired and she's ready to go to sleep. All right. And the next thing she'll be asking, if it's mommy or daddy, daddy, please, can you read me a story? Or mom, please, can you read me a story? And all of that. Now, what is happening here? It is a programming that has happened. And so as a result, we have been able to form, or the child has been able to form a habit as a result of that programming. Now, I remembered when our son had to join a reading challenge, all right, because he enjoyed me reading to him so much that he didn't want to pick a fiction book on his own to read. Okay, it was later, for me, I was trying to piece it together. He would read encyclopedias from encyclopedias. He would read about, certain animals and read about, you will read about things that are not abstract, things that he can actually see, and all of that. He will read that. But when it comes to stories, fiction stories especially, I don't know whether because he couldn't relate to them, because of course that time it was mainly Ladybird books and the Cinderella and all of those, it was all about Cinderella, Ramposinski. Those were the kind of books that we were reading, at the time. I used to have this African series also, the one that had the rats, the town mouse, and yeah. So I think that story, different, publications, right, have different versions of it, right? Different publishers have different versions of it. Anyway, so we write different versions of these stories. And I think I had one, I can't remember that African series. Anyway, okay, but we had some, one or two of those level one books, that we would read, to him and all of that. So I think he just enjoyed having us read books, read aloud to him. And read aloud is a thing. Read aloud is such a thing, dear parents. If you're parents of an infant, a baby, a toddler, then read aloud to them every day. If you can, it doesn't take too much. 5 minutes here, 8 minutes here, and you are done. Anyway, so I read aloud to him every day, and he just didn't want to pick a book on on his own and read, right? So he would always pick the book and say, Mommy, read me a story. All right, so I'll read him a story, or Daddy, read me a story, and Daddy will read him a story. Okay, like that. But he will pick other things and read. At this point, we're talking when he was 4 and 5 and 6, he would read other things. At 6, he would still insist that I read the story. And of course, I would read the story, but then again, I was getting a bit worried. Why isn't he? He loves the stories, he enjoys the stories. Why isn't he reading the story? But then again, I wasn't worried because not as in I knew that my worries were not really, obtainable, because I mean, when it comes to reading, he didn't have a problem with reading. He would read other materials, but he just didn't want to read the stories. And now I'm guessing it's because he enjoyed having me read the stories to him. It was much more fun to him. And then there was a chance to join a reading challenge, and I asked him if he wanted to be a part of it, and he said yes. And so I got him into that reading challenge, and he started reading. Now he read in that reading challenge. He had to read because it was one book per day. So it was 30 days, reading for 30 days, right? He was reading 30 days, 30 books, something like that. I can't remember how they coined it. But he joined that challenge, and Now, while he was on that challenge, I realized that, yeah, he was enjoying reading, but there were times that, it was difficult for him to just jump in and pick the books and read. So I had to start creating, activities that will help us, that will help him feel motivated to pick the books and read. Remember, I was in that place where he wasn't agreeing to pick storybooks to read on his own. He would pick a book and read about fish. He would pick a book and read about hippopotamus. He would pick a book and read about like things that he can relate to, real life things, animals, cars, and then of course the encyclopedia is a lot of facts. So I think he had a theme for facts and probably couldn't, he just felt the abstract things, I read them better, or the stories, I read them better, and it sounded more, it was sounded more fun, from my lips. I want to think so now that he's older, and I understand more. All right, so yes, he couldn't. So even at the time he started reading, he would pick the books, he would read the books, but sometimes getting him to pick the books, in the morning was a challenge, or to get into that space, because in his case he was reading one book per day, meaning he had to spend hours reading the book. He had to spend hours. He practically has to like leave everything and read, because it was a marathon kind of thing. You have to read and you have to finish, so we went through that challenge. I had to look for ways to make the challenge more fun for him. We did all of that, and yes, because we have it, that whatever we start, we finish. So because it was a theme to start and finish, we had to stay in there, and he finished the challenge. He finished the challenge, and yes, he did well. He was happy with himself. It was an achievement for him. So he was happy that he could set that goal and that he could achieve the goal. All right, there was a ceremony. He went for the ceremony, met other kids. He was called out to the stage amongst those who, read all the books. All of that were all, gave him a sense of satisfaction. And I could see how he became bolder when it came to reading, and how he became more confident, right, as a person, just simply because he was able to achieve a goal that he set to achieve. All right. So, and of course, the process of it all also was a big deal for me. I could see how he was doing his best to stay committed, to a goal that he had set. All right. So while he was trying to do a reading challenge, a lot of other things were happening behind the stage, or were behind the scene. While he was doing trying to get a reading challenge done, a lot of other skills were being built during the course of that challenge. But there's something I also noticed, or there's something I also picked away from the challenge. And I said to myself, okay, there is something that can be done about this. Okay. Now, this is it. That is who you are as a parent. As a parent, it is your job to consistently see how you can make your child's learning experience better. As a parent, it's your job to see what are the gaps that my child has in their learning. What are the gaps that my child has in their growth, in their development? Okay, your job is to be present enough to see and to identify these things and to find ways to, help your child, or to find ways to fill in the gaps that you find on your children's journey. And that's what happened. So I looked at it and I'm like, okay, he actually went through this challenge, but he didn't go through this challenge with that high energy every day. He didn't go through this challenge, with that sense of, oh, at the end of the day, there was the big sense of satisfaction, with all of the accolades and all of the celebration and all of that came at the end. But why during the challenge? I thought there was something more that was needed to get the child excited while the child was on the challenge. Okay, there was something more that could be done to get the child motivated while the child was on the challenge, right, doing the challenge. And so that made us go into thinking, okay, and so we put together our own challenge after that year. All right, so after that year, it became a summer thing for us. So we created our own challenge and we decided to make it a fun activity book challenge. All right, so we decided to make it a fun activity book challenge whereby there is a fun activity every day that is tied to the challenge. And I can't begin to tell you how successful that approach was. All right. So we could connect fun to reading books, thereby making reading more fun, making reading a fun activity, making reading not too monotonous and not too monotonous and melancholy. All right, so we added a flair to reading, and that. And I used this with the children for years. And so we decided, as with many other things, why create these things and leave it with the children alone, while we can share this with the world and share it with other parents and share it with other children, so that other children can also come to that space where they can get motivated to read. And so while on that journey, pick the habit of reading, or cultivate the habit of reading for leisure, because reading is a big deal. I'm not going to go to all of the reason why reading is a big deal, because we spent the whole of last week extensively, talking about this. You may want to go and check in the YouTube channel, just check the playlist. Okay, so we have a playlist, or we will share that playlist with you after the session, where you will see we have a whole 5 episodes of why reading is important. We even had guests who came, to share the platform with me, all right, to share knowledge in this area. Reading is so critical that no child should be left without this as a skill. No child should be left without being supported to read or to learn to love and appreciate books for the love of it, for the love of knowledge, for the love of leisure reading. All right, so this is how we came to the point where we now started adding activities to the whole exercise of reading. And it's been so successful, amazing, and effective. And today I can stand here boldly and say I have been able to I've been able to build, readers. I've been able to raise children who love to read, not just my biological children that I have worked with, relatives that have come to stay with me. I've been able to move people who have come to work with me from being just people who do domestic work and walk away to people who started picking books and reading books for the enjoyment of books. Not to talk of my nieces and people who have come to stay with me for 1, 2, or a few years. Okay, they left this house at least reading books, even if you take them sometimes to finish the book. They got the habit. People who had never picked a book in their entire life, apart from school books to read because they want to pass exams, started picking books to read for leisure. I have two ardent readers in my home. My children are both voracious readers. Okay, so yes, you can raise that child who doesn't want to see books at all. You can actually raise them to become book lovers. But there is a way. There is a way, and the earlier you start this, the better for you. Okay, and the earlier you program reading as a way of life, okay, as a lifestyle, the better for both you and the child. All right, so I'm going to take you through 10 things that you could do this summer holiday to get your child to read books. Okay, that is why you have joined our reading challenge. After you've joined our reading challenge, all right, so we have this reading challenge. As I said, we did this, or we've used this in our home for so many years. We decided to start sharing it with other people. So 3 years ago, we started the 30 days fun activity summer book challenge. All right, so we started the summer fun activity book challenge. Okay, where we have people enroll with very little, all right, very little commitment fee. I mean, imagine coming in to join the challenge with just 3,500 naira, and we're going to be walking this journey with you, showing up every day for 30 days. Yes, for 30 days with that child, for just 30 days with that child, 30 days with that child for just 3,500 naira. All right, so you can imagine. So this is what we do every year from the 1st of August to the 30th of August, just because we want more children to understand the place that reading plays in their life and to really participate in this. And you know something, every year it has gotten bigger and better, because every year we have looked for more ways to make children read, more ways to make children motivated, more ways to make children stay in the challenge and see the challenge through to the end. All right, so this year we have put in so many motivational strategies or motivation strategies to get our children reading and staying on there, because we know that the longer they read and the longer they stay in there, the more this skill is being internalized, the more this skill is cultivated. So we want to keep them excited, we want to keep them staying there excited, and motivated, because we know that an activity plus a sense of satisfaction is equal to motivation. So yes, the activities are exciting. The activities will help you bond with your child, dear parents. The activity will get the children bonding with their siblings. The activity will get the children indoors, will get the children outdoors, will get the children thinking, will get the children exploring, will get the children curious. It will get the children to be creative. It is a reading challenge like no other challenge that you know. I dare say it is the most exciting reading challenge that you will find around this space. Okay, so yes, you want to get your child involved so that your child wakes up every day excited about something. What is next? What is next? What is next? So imagine a summer holiday where the child is excited about doing something that is positive and productive. And of course, it's going to take them away from binging on the TV or on other screens. Okay, that is part of the goal. All right, parents, so let's go. I'm going to use an acronym, motivation, to share 10 things that that we have put together in this challenge, and you can actually put in your home to help your children, all right, stay motivated to read. All right, in the challenge we have this and many more things. All right, so number one, you want to make reading fun. All right, we said that you want to make reading fun, because any activity that has a sense of satisfaction would actually make a child jump in there and read. All right, did I mention that PTM turned 5 on Saturday? Where are the people in this PTM group? Where is everybody? I was out here on Saturday and I'm like, hey, we are 5. And I did not see my people. I didn't see you excited about the fact that we have been doing this for 5 years. We have been showing up. We have been showing up. We have been putting out this message of being that parent who shows up for your child, being that parent who supports your child, being that parent who is a model to your child, that all that your child needs to do is see you, watch you, and these can inform how the trajectory of their lives will become, because your child can see you as a model and can model after you. All right, that is why we say mentorship is key, and this is why I will boldly call myself the mentor mom. because I believe very strongly that every one of us is called to be our children's first mentor. Very key. All right. Then as they grow older, we begin to spread out our hands and see other people that can partner with us, collaborate with us for our children to see the world not just through our eyes and our perspective, but to hear the same thing that we say said in a different way by a mentor somewhere, by a coach somewhere, and all of that. I said we are living at a time and in a world where true mentors are scarce. That is why we see our young children going astray every day, because there is a scarcity of mentors. All right. So I hope you're excited as much as I am that we've been here carrying this message and spreading this message in the last 5 years. So yes, guys, PTM is 5. Parenting through mentorship is 5. Please celebrate with us. And then I am sending out to you your flowers. You have been amazing. You have done great being here. I mean, we show up here because you are here. All right. Every day we show up here. Every time we show up here, we do this because you are here. You are the reason why we are here. And so this is celebration for you, or congratulations for you, as much as it is for me. So thank you for being such an amazing audience in the last 5 years. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for your contributions. Okay, as I said, we can do this just because you are here. So thank you very much. So let's go right to number 2. Number 1, we say children have to see reading as fun. So you must incorporate fun activities into your reading. You must create an environment that spells fun when reading is talked about. Reading should not be seen as a burden. For that reason, don't ever send your child away from something that they are excited about and then send them to go and read as a way of punishment or as a way of taking a privilege from them. When you take a privilege from your child, for instance, you say, get up from that place and stop watching TV. Go and take your book and read. Now, that is supposed to be like, quote and unquote, some consequence. Now, you on your own you have already relegated reading as something that is not positive, as something that is not exciting, as something that should be a punishment. And, sometimes we do this unintentionally. We do this without even realizing what it is that we are doing. And that's also because it is coming from within, because we see reading as parents. We actually see reading as a chore. We see reading ourselves as a chore. So because you see it as a chore, it feels like what you should send your child to go and do when you are trying to met out some punishment or some consequences for something that they have not done right. If you do this, your child will never come to appreciate reading or will never see the importance of reading. And it's going to be all on you, whether you accept it or not. All right. So never make reading a consequence for a bad behavior. Never make reading an option. Never treat reading books as something that the children get because they are being naughty. Don't ever relegate them to a book. Go and take your book and read, my friend. Don't do that. All right. When you talk about reading with a sense, with a pump, right? Talk about reading with a pump. Talk about reading with a sense of satisfaction. Make it an activity that is fun. Number 2, when your children read, you want to offer them choices. Okay. Introduce your children to choices when it comes to reading. Introduce them to varying genre of books. Introduce them to different kinds of reading resources. Okay. Depending on the age of your child, it's okay if your children want to read comics. All you need to do is go through the content of it and see that it is appropriate age-wise and content-wise as far it's in line with your values and what it is that you are teaching your child. I hope you know that books are an amazing way to step down your values to your children. Yes, the books that your children read should reflect your value as a family. So you don't want your children reading books that are not in sync or in line with your values, because reading books are that powerful. They can transfer values to your children. They can transfer ideologies to your children. Books are that powerful. Okay, if you have not started seeing books this way, then you are wrong. Okay, books are that powerful, and you need to so books are that powerful, and you need to know this. Okay. So yes, offer choices, offer different. Let your children read magazines. Let your children read comics. Let them read. Just let them read. Different kinds of resources and varying genre of books. And all of that. As you're doing that, they are being exposed to a wider range of material, character, concepts, ideas, and then of course general knowledge. All right. Number three, you want to track the progress that your children are making. All right. Now, this is one of the things that we're doing in the challenge. Of course, in the challenge, when the children come in, we're going to make them challenge themselves. But then again, we have category of books that they can read. This is because we want to create choices. Okay. And then, of course, we're going to track their success. We want them to track their success. See, parents, whatever it is that your children do, create a system where your children are constantly tracking their process, or you're tracking their process together. What this does is it helps the child see what they are capable of. All right. It helps your child see what it is that they are capable of. When you are not tracking progress, your children take everything. They take even their own effort for granted. They take their own abilities for granted. All right. So, but when you track effort, you are able to point your children, or you're able to help your children see. I mean, just look at it. See how far you've come. See how much you achieved. See how well you did. Now, this, of course, leaves a sense of motivation or a sense of champion. Okay, it makes the child feel like a champion where they're able to go back and see. This is the same thing that their school reports do to them. And this is part of why we think that their grades are everything, because the school system has a way of tracking the progress that the child has made, and they're able to put this in a concrete document that the child can see, and the child can actually see how the efforts they have made has become, how much the effort they've made have come out, have produced results, or has manifested as results. So if you in your system can create documentation, okay, that will help your children see their progress, you will begin to take the things that they do seriously, and they will begin to see the outcome of their effort. And before you know it, you will be like the school. I know many times we want to feel like, oh no, we're not structured, we shouldn't be like the school and all of that. Nobody's saying you should be like the school. All we're saying is create a system that allows you track their progress. That way, motivation is increased. Okay, so we have our tools that we'll be using in the challenge to track progress, so that our children can see woohoo how much they are doing, woohoo how far they've come, and all of that. And all these serve as motivation. Remember that formula. Activity plus a sense of satisfaction is equal to motivation. All right. It is how motivated your child is to do something that will make the child continue to do that thing, or that will bring that sense of satisfaction, right, from that thing. All right. Number three is you want to involve their buddies. You want to involve family members, get involved as a parent. Everything you do, that's you. I mean, everything that your children do, everything that your children are pursuing, if you are able to show up there and show an interest, you will realize that your child is more committed. Your child is more committed to anything that you show an interest in, especially for you, dear fathers. When a father shows, interest in something that your child is doing, whether it's a boy or a girl, the commitment is actually different. So we realize that more children who are not committed to whether it's their studies, their interests, or whatever it is in life that they are pursuing, go closely and look at it. You will see that there is probably a lack of interest, or a lack of engagement or commitment from the part of the people that the children love, or the child loves the most and would want to impress the most often the fathers. Now, as parents, many times we like to think that we are involved simply because we provide the money for them for what they want. We probably drive them and drop them off in school or something. We take them out to eat every now and then. But your involvement in your child's life is more than that. Your involvement in your child's life is being present in the everyday things that make their life a reality. Having Being there to have conversations with your child, being there to play with your child, being there to go through a game with your child, being there to cook a meal together, being there to roll on the floor together, being there to do an obstacle course together, build a kite together, go on a road trip together. These real authentic things that make life more, or make life, fulfilling. These are the areas where we actually need each other. These are the areas where your children see you. The child's language or understanding of love is play. Child's language and understanding of love is your presence and your attention. So it's not the number of tickets you buy for them to travel. It's not how early you pay their school fees. It is not in how many times you drop them off at the school gate while your ignition was still on and your engine was still on, so that they step out of the car and the next second you zoom off. It is much more than that. All right, parents. So you're hearing this now, it's a good time, to adjust and, deal with some of these things and show your presence even more in the lives of your children. All right. Yep. So get involved in the reading. Let them read. There's something we do in our home where the children read a book. When they're done reading that book, they actually would review the book. Now, in the reviewing that book, we all sit down, we have a snack, we connect their PowerPoint presentation to the large TV screen and then do the presentation there. And we're all a part of that, presentation, asking questions, enjoying the moment, and then, of course, celebrating their efforts. If you know the pump that this will give your child, you will not spend another day without creating a system where your child can see you interested in what they are doing. All right. Are you following me? If you are here and you're watching on YouTube, whether you're catching the replay or you are here right now, and you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, it's a good time to pause and then hit that subscribe button right now. And of course, hit the follow button so that you can join us every time we come live. All right. If you are on Facebook and you have a friend, someone who should be following or watching this video right now, or all of the amazing resources and classes that we share here, why don't you go ahead and tag them, all right, and then ask them to follow so that they can carry this gospel, so that we can all be moving this gospel to its permanent site. All right. So the next one is you want to introduce a mix of resources. Okay, I think I talked about that a little. Did I? Anyway, introduce a mix of resources for your children. Okay, that is remember, we're talking motivation. All right, so introduce a mix of resources. So it's not just, books, it's magazines, it's flyers, it's just anything. I hope you know that whatever it is that you are reading, you are reading. All right, so as far as you're reading a material that carries an information from some other person's knowledge that is being passed down from one person to the other, from one generation to the other, you are actually reading, or you are actually amassing knowledge and getting information through that material. Then we say you are reading. All right. So yes, you want to, of course, have your children get knowledge from different sources or resources. Let them read books, let them read audio books sometimes. All right, but I don't it depends actually on the age of your children. As your children grow older, all right, remember, at different phases of your child's life, while you are getting them to learn the particular skills, know that there are always accompaniment skills that come with that. All right. For everything that you're doing with your preteen, always have it at the back of your mind that why the child is learning one skill, there are other skills that will accompany that skill. So when your children are learning to read, they also will have to learn to stay focused. They also will have to learn distraction management. They will also learn resilience. They will also learn, all of that, right? All of that is coming with it. So while you are having them read, of course, you want to make sure for now that they stay with print. I would advise that they stay with print so that they learn how to, take a book, understand, read the book, go back and look at the book, and stay focused rather than them just listening. All right. So some children, if we if we make them overly dependent on listening to audio books, then it may be the only thing that they will gravitate towards. So you want to start first with your children appreciating and reading print said books, reading prints, so that we don't get the children we don't get them addicted, right? We don't get them addicted to phones and iPads and all of that. Children can be addicted to anything in the name of I am reading on the tab. So while they are reading on the tablet, they are becoming dependent on gadgets. So we want to be careful about that also. So that's why we will say the prints are safer, isn't it? The prints are safer. Let's stick to the prints, for now. And then as they grow older, they will understand their preferences. And then, of course, they can actually use both, as they grow older. All right. Number 5 is you want to acknowledge their efforts. When children read, you need to acknowledge their efforts. When children do anything at all, as far as the child is making an effort, as far as the child is trying, as far as the child is putting out their best foot, it is your responsibility as a parent and a caregiver to ensure that you are acknowledging the effort that the child is making. Learn to praise their effort and not the person. Okay, the moment you learn to praise their effort, what you do is you spur them on. Okay, when you praise the effort, wow, look at that. Just look at what you were able to achieve because you put in 20 minutes. Imagine that you actually put in 10 extra minutes. Boy, you will be flying, you will be soaring. Now, the emphasis being on what the child was able to achieve from a 10 minutes or a 20 minutes effort. And then you raise the bar by pointing them to the fact that if you can add 10 more minutes, you will be an odogu. Do you understand? So this is it. So the emphasis should be on the effort and not on the person. So when it's on the effort, then what the person wants to increase is the effort. And that way you are raising the bar and they are becoming better and better. Because you have to show me. I mean, if anyone disagrees, show me where you have seen someone who is working so hard effectively, that results don't come. Results always come when there's an effective, effort made in an area. All right, so we want children to understand this. As I said, while they are reading, there are other accompaniment skills that they will gain while they're trying to gain this habit of reading. Okay, all right, the other one is the next thing, number 6, is you want to talk about books. Cultivate a habit of talking about books. Okay, I talked about how the children will do a PowerPoint presentation and we will sit down there and listen to them. And while that is happening, we would ask questions. We will share our perspective on what it is. Okay, I like it particularly when the children are reading or they're doing presentations of historic books. When they're reading presentation of historic books, it's a lot of knowledge sharing, that goes in there, because somehow we know something more than it is that they know, or something that they are just finding out. And we are able, both their dad and I are able to throw in, our perspective on the subject, our knowledge on the subject. And so before you know it, it becomes a whole family conversation, and it's just beautiful moments, sharing those moments and bonding in that way. So yes, You can do that. Talk about books and make books a thing. Let it be. I mean, I love the conversations that we have, all right, with the kids in many cases. How we're talking about one thing, we're talking about I mean, just a random conversation. And in that conversation, you will hear our 9-year-old daughter will go, "Oh, okay, yeah, I read about that in so and so book." And before we know it, she's already discussing the book, and it's probably a book that her brother has read also, or one of his books that she just read. And so the conversation increases, and I'm there sharing perspective, and just like that, we move from random conversation about school, about something, about, something, else, and before you know it, we're already having a conversation about a book. So you want to get into that space where book and talking about books is like talking about chips or talking about what you want on the menu table. You understand? Yes, from the menu. So we're talking about as simple as talking about a menu or something like that. All right. The next one, number 8, is you want to okay, incorporate. So the next, what was the last one I talk about books, all right? So incorporate a book into the things that you do. Incorporate books into the things that you do, into your family tradition. Incorporate books somewhere there. You can actually do, as part of your family tradition, you can have a book that you share as a whole family. You can have a book once in a month, once in 2 months, that you share as a whole family, meaning a book that you read together. And that book can be read at a dinner table after the meal while everybody is relaxing. You can spend 10, 15 minutes, reading the book. I remember when I had gone to live with my guardian. Okay, when I went to school, I went to University of Jos, and I had to live with my guardian for some time before I moved to school. I remember those evenings. They used to read from, a book about the saints. So every evening at dinner time, they would read about the saints, and I got to know about, a number of saints, and their stories, just because of those, short sharing sessions. And it was fun. Funny enough, I was a first year student in the university. Yeah, it was my first year in the university at the time, and I would actually sit with them, and we would read. They would read through those stories, and it was just fun. There was always that anticipation of, oh, what saints are we going to be reading about today? So it's that kind of thing I'm talking about. All right, so you can have that shared reading with your children, where as a whole family you incorporate, something like that in your system, that you could read together at specific time. You will bond, it will help you bond as a family, and definitely it will create, a love and a motivation to read books. All right, the next one is get cozy with books. Okay, that's what we're going to be doing in the reading challenge. We're going to start with getting cozy. We're going to start by cozying up. We're going to get all cozy with books, and I want you, create that, ambience in your home where your children can actually just get into a corner that is fun and exciting to read a book. Sometimes that simple cozy corner is the reason why your child will pick a book and read. I'm so excited about this one. And it's the drama that goes with it, how we're creating it, how we take our time to make it beautiful, just so that we can cozy up and read our book. And then the next one is opening that cozy center and that cozy place where you feel like reading is where reading becomes a very important thing. All right, so you want to create the space also in your home. You want to open a print rich environment, or a literary rich environment in your home. Yes, let your home speak of books. When I come into your home, there has to be something in your home that tells me that books live here and books are appreciated here. If you walk into my home, you will know that books are appreciated. If you look behind me, or by my side right here, is a library. This library, apart from the journals that belong to me, in this library. Every other book in the library belongs to the children. So our children use this library. Up here are my parenting books. All right. Up here, there isn't a single book here that is not a parenting book. Okay. Up here are all our 90, at least 95% parenting books. Okay. And your other books. And then, of course, if you turn on my desk, I have a heap of parenting books here and related books. I have a heap of parenting books, and related books that I read, up here. Do you understand? So do you get? So it's that in my children's room, they each have a library in their room. Each of them has got a library in their room, their own library. Okay, if you go to the living room when you come in, before you move, to one side of my house, there is the family library right there. So when you come in, you will know that book is a thing in our home. And then finally, you want to nurture a routine. You want to put together a routine that will help you nurture a love for reading. All right, you want to have a routine in your home. When our children were growing, okay, even for the longest time, we had the stop and read system in our home, where there is a time where we stop, everybody stops doing everything, and then pick a book and read. These days, we don't do stop and read anymore because everybody has cultivated the habit of reading. So in my home, you don't need to tell anybody to read anymore. Instead, you have people coming to ask mommy, we have the children coming to ask, Mom, when can we shop for our books for the month? So that's the kind of thing you hear. And so the books come in, 4 of them, 5 of them sometimes, okay, 3 of them sometimes. And by second week, some people, I mean, sometimes my daughter will come, I'm done with my books. I don't know, what am I going to read now? All right, or something like that. So yeah, that's what you get. So because of that, we've turned the stop and read time to, so we still do stop and read sort of, okay, because it's now Bible study time. All right, so we're still reading, isn't it? But when it comes to reading, picking books, and reading on your own, that's that skill has been locked in. All right. So that's what you want to do as a parent. You want to lock in as many skills and keep looking for the ones that you've not locked in. All right. So, yes, we've talked about the reading challenge. If you would like to be a part of that reading challenge, you should, if you have children between 0 and. If you have children between 0 and 15 and 13, sorry, then you should be. We have almost 100 people already in that challenge. Okay, we can take more people. Okay, when we get to the number that we want to take, we're going to shut down, but we still have room. And what we've done is we've extended the early bird. So the early bird was supposed to end today. The early bird offer was supposed to end today. But because we know that some people have said, okay, I'm not able to do it now, can you give me a few more days and all of that? So yes, because of the number of people who want this, we have been lenient enough to, move the early bird days now. So and we started with a flash sale, and we got over about 60 people get into that flash sale, and they paid much less for this, okay, before it came to the early bird offer of 3,500 naira. Now we've extended that, and you want to take advantage of it and get your early bird offer and get in. We have 3 amazing resources that we will be giving you also. All you need to do is click right now and join the wait list. While you are in that wait list, you get set to receive, okay, your resources, and then of course get into the main thing. The challenge begins on the 1st of August. And yes, it's time. The parents who are in already are already preparing. There is a lot to prepare. So come in early so that you can get all set for the challenge. So thank you very much. If you would like to be a part of that challenge, right here, scrolling on your screen right now, you will see the link, okay, and the information that you need to be a part of the challenge. All you need to do is to screen grab it, or just take note of the information, and then use that to register for the challenge. All right, and then we will see you or see your child at the challenge. Even if your child is 2 months, mama, please come and join this challenge so that you know how to effectively, right, help your children encounter books and the character in a book. It will do you so much good. It will do the child a lot of good. It will help you program the child for reading. It will help you gift the child a gift that is such a powerful gift for today and for the rest of their life. You want to be an advantage to your child. Yes? Yes. Thank you very much for joining me for the session today. It's been a whole hour and 3 minutes, exactly an hour because we started at 1:03. All right, and it's 2:03 right now, is it? Anyway, it's showing me 1 hour 4 minutes. Okay, so we are good. So thank you very much for joining. If you'd like to be a part of the challenge, use the information on your screen to join us. But remember, reading is a skill that cannot be overemphasized, and children become readers on the lap of their parents. So if you're a parent of a 2 month old, right there is where your child needs to become a reader. Please get your child to start learning to read and start enjoying books by introducing them to books or introducing books into your space. My name is Maribeth Chima, always excited to be a part of your parenting journey. I'm excited to come here and share with you every Monday at 1 p.m. where we have our weekly webinar. And I'm also here at 8:30 a.m. every day from Monday through Friday to share tips and lots of strategies and tools to also help you to parent your young children, your preteens, and your toddlers. As a matter of fact, because we understand that these stages before your children become teenagers are critical. If you can lock it in, if you can get this phase right, then you will have a smooth ride through your child's teenage. And a stable teenager will definitely become a successful young person. Thank you very much and have a fantastic rest of your day and a blessed week. Bye.